Okay, welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate you tuning in. This video is called Gaza, Grief and Action.
Take my hand and hold my breath. Sieges be broken, hatred be spoken.
This video is a little bit outside of the campaign, the Support Artists by Direct Fund Change. I'll explain why shortly, but it's very much aligned. And this video it brings together my involvement with the Palestinian solidarity movement over the last couple of years in the shape of 2 EPs and an ongoing online event which you're very welcome to join in with. I'll say more about that as we go on. I was at an event on Saturday. I live in the city of Newcastle currently, which is in the northeast of England, and there was about 22, I think, cities that day around the UK where the same event was taking place. We were reading the names of Palestinian children that have been killed over the last 2 years. So there's been a recorded 19,000 children's names, and the event started at 7 in the morning and it finished at 7 in the evening. And it consisted of members of the community turning up to a podium, a stand where there was a book, and in that book was 19,000 names. And there was volunteers that stood beside the speaker with a ruler and just went down the list of names. I was signed up for a 10-minute slot at 1 o'clock. And bear in mind it started at 7 in the morning. We were at that point at age 3. And during the evening, a bit later when I went back again, it was finishing up at about 7 o'clock, and then it had got to kind of older ages. But at around 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it was on age 7. 3 seconds a name all day. I can't quite get my head around it. I did my 10 minutes, and then I left the podium and someone gave me a hug and I just came to tears. It's public grief for people who haven't had an opportunity to grieve. This phrase keeps coming back to me, like grief is a privilege when you have the time to do it. I heard this one statistic as well which stays with me, that if we were to grieve every Palestinian child's life that had been taken over the last 2 years, and we gave it a day to grieve that life, we'd be going to ceremonies, funerals, however you call it, for over 50 years. So whether that can ever properly land in me, I don't know, but it did a little bit that day. And of course the numbers are well over 60,000 for all the adults as well. So yeah, I've been a bit involved with things over the last, maybe like many of you watching, just in whatever ways I can do. Been to fundraisers and gigs, I've played gigs, been to demos. I've, campaigned in various ways. And as an artist, out of that have come songs. So the first song that I wrote was for an evening of bringing together voices from Israel and Palestine, looking at the issue of militarization within Israel and how to try and break that down and give people the opportunity to look at alternative ways of conflict resolution. And I took the poetry of a Palestinian poet called Mahmoud Darwish, and I took quite a few of the lines and brought them together and wrote a song by that name. Thanks to my friend Karim Gandor, my Jordanian friend, for giving me the opportunity to read some of Mahmoud Darwish's poetry. It's something that's quite common, he said, in school for him when he was growing up, that poetry was read, and I'd not heard of Mahmoud Darwish before. Karim's grandma is Palestinian. So that was one of the songs. And then the next one came sometime later as the horrors were unfolding, and I rewrote Bob Dylan's song Hard Rain's Gonna Fall for the journalists of Gaza who gave us that insight into what was happening. You can hear more about that in my censorship video, which I'll link at the end of this one. And then, that led on to another song along similar lines, which it took the controversial title Death to the IDF, and it caused all of my music to be taken off the streaming platforms. I've now gone through a new distributor and things are coming back up, but I've rewritten that song with a new chorus, and that's become a song called 2 Million Parts, Take My Hand. And I sing that with my friend Christa Awad. So that was another song that kind of came out of that time period. And then with Christa, I have been singing a song called Mwel El Hawa, which is my song of longing in Arabic. Thanks to Christa for teaching me Arabic and teaching me that song. So we've been singing that song at a few events and so on. So there are a number of songs there that have kind of come out of this period. And what I've decided to do is to bring those together into an EP called Gaza. And that is going to be raising money for Artists Supporting Palestine. So for the last roughly 18 months, Artists Supporting Palestine have been collecting together visual artworks and selling them online to raise money for Medical Aid Palestine. Over 80,000 have been raised so far. And I know that they're in we are in a process at the moment of looking at what other organisations working in Palestine we might be able to give that money to as well. And a friend I made within that collective is called Jean McEwan. So you'll know Jean if you came to our first Grief and Action Circle in association with Artists Supporting Palestine. What we are doing is going to hold monthly circles where we can get together and use creative processes to open hearts and minds and try and unstick ourselves, unnumb ourselves from these horrors, and use our words and our visual art to comment on and disrupt this normalization of what's been happening. So if you'd like to come to that, then please put a comment below or send a message and we can get in touch. So if you get this EP, this Gaza EP, you get the songs I mentioned and you get a lyric poster that goes with that. So if you buy the EP, I can send it to you. And then you also get this Turning Grief into Action zine, which is the process that we use on those online evenings. It talks about opening our emotions. It's entitled A Zine About Connecting with Our Emotions, about Gaza, and to move towards action. Yeah. There is another little project which I've been involved with as well, which is called the Zaynab project. And the Zaynab project is helping orphans in Gaza. There are many, many thousands of young people from a very young age up to kind of teenagers who've lost a parent or both parents. And the Zaynab project are aiming to give those children resources and new families, new host families. And I've been writing a number of songs around the time of my child Fi's birth. Fi's now 7 months old. And 3 songs emerged during that time, looking at family and looking at what it means to bring a new life into the world. And I've released that as an EP to raise money for Zaynab as well. So you can also buy that and the money goes to Zaynab. We've raised £210 so far from selling 42 EPs. They're £5 each. So it feels critical at this moment that the activism around Palestine continues. There's talk of ceasefire now, and there's talk of the elites of countries who've been very much involved in the destruction of Gaza taking control of Gaza. It feels critical right now that this solidarity I feel in myself is continuing and not stopping because something has been achieved in terms of a ceasefire. I think there are colonial ideologies at play, and there needs to be a continued presence of solidarity with the Palestinian people. The president of Colombia said this week that if Palestine dies, humanity dies, and we can't let it die. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.